Things are going to start happening to me now.
You've done all the reading. You're a scholar. You're a professor. You've done all the reading. You've done the intellectual heavy lifting.
More or less, eat shit and die.
You wouldn't know a fact if it begged you all night long.
Want to give the wrong impression because I am very high.
Ran up behind him with a hatchet. Smash, smash, smash. Yeah.
Care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
And a hearty welcome to everybody. This is Libertarian Podcast Review. Tyler Yonke. I think we're on episode 48. I threw a few out there real quick. Went to Reno. We reset that place, and it fucked me over. My wife is sick. I'm sick. But if you've ever been to Reno, you probably understand that. Today's guest, Zach Brown, Unfit Statesman. I've been a big fan of his. Let's bring him on in. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So let me just say a few things. I was on Tower Power Hour last year sometime. Okay. I thought it did okay. I made some jokes that went well. It was like a next week or so you were on there, and I stopped watching it real quick because I was suddenly like, oh, this is how you do it. And I was really impressed. Yeah. I ended up watching the whole thing later on. And then I've followed your show. I found you on Pete Quinones, Reed Coverdale. And by the way, then I did a review of some of your clips, your whole rant in Ukraine. And I posted on there and you said, hey, I've been getting a bump. And you named 3 podcasts. And I don't think mine was really part of that when it's Reed and Pete, but thank you and welcome.
Well, listen, I don't know. Whenever I get attention, I just immediately, I'm like a lost whore. I just need, like, whenever there's attention, I'm like, guy, come here. Whatever. I'll take whatever. Honestly, a podcast with one listener could say, we're going to have you on. I'd be like, yeah, fucking, let's do it. We're going to do it. We're going to talk about a little, what, COVID? Whatever. And by the way, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, you do have, at least on Twitter, you have more followers than I do, I think.
Oh, okay. I don't, is that something you look at? I mean, I do when they're kind of losers sometimes, but then that also is a problem because you can be a really prominent person in your own community, your family or whatever, and have like no following. And then there's some schlep in his basement that curates, 200,000 and this guy is going to get the cred over you. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely something I look at because the whole community argument where I'm at in New Jersey, and I'm in a place called Montclair, New Jersey. It's one of the most liberal places in America, and there's no community. There's pockets of it. You have like the communities are one soup kitchen, the AA meetings, and Planned Parenthood, right? And then if you consider the YMCA, that's it. There's no other communities. You don't talk to your neighbor. You shut your mouth. You walk out the door and you see somebody, you turn away. You shut your mouth, you turn away, you get in your BMW, you drive off. And I don't even have a BMW to drive off in. So that's where I'm at.
So where did you grow up? Because it sounds like to me, I grew up in the Northwest, and that was not the case there. So when I moved, I'm in California now, and it's much more similar to what you have, where you just non-person, a lot of people. Some of them, a lot of homeless here. So it's safe. It's safer to do that. But did you grow up in a smaller community?
I grew up in South Dakota. I grew up in Rapid City, South Dakota. They had Freedom Fest in Rapid City, South Dakota. Yeah. And I didn't go. And I didn't even hear about it until I had Monica Perez on my show. And she's like, I'm going to Freedom Fest in Rapid City, South Dakota. I don't know if you've heard of it. I'm like, what? What is this? Rapid City's doing shit? I thought the Black Hills Stock Show and Rodeo was the only event that they would fucking host throughout the year. That and like the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, which is technically Sturgis, but Rapid City's like 30 minutes away from that. Yeah. And all of our fucking hotels are booked up and it always gets traffic. Everybody likes the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. They romanticize about it when they're not from the area. It's horrible.
It's trash, right?
Horrible. They bring in leathery skinned fucks to just start fights in bars and go to fucking Saving Abel concerts. It's disgusting, truly. But that's where I grew up. It was a smaller community. I guess communities are different. in South Dakota. Like towns are different in South Dakota. So Rapid City is technically a town of like 70,000, which in New Jersey seems huge. The difference is in South Dakota, 70,000 and then 30 minutes drive of nothing. And then you get to the next town. In Jersey, it's like a town of like 15,000, but you never actually get out of a town. They just drew like imaginary, like, okay, Montclair stops here, Verona starts here, and it's just like a building that got caught in limbo. Like there's no separation. So it's like the town like layout is different. But yes, I did grow up in a very different culture than where I'm at now.
I dated a girl in college. She's either North or South Dakota, and you could tell me the differences there besides North and South. But I think she said that one of those had the highest rate of teenage alcohol abuse, and it seemed like it checked out because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, I think I don't know. It could be either one. So the Native American population in South Dakota, I know, has a bad alcohol problem. As far as drinking under, it's probably South Dakota. I mean, even like you get like the rural people. I mean, Christ, they fucking drink. They drink and they handle it beautifully. They get back to work the next day. That's what I love about it. Yeah,
they're pros at it. They have to learn how to do this. So why junior? You're pretty young, I take it, right? 20s in that range.
26.
Okay. So why New Jersey?
Well, when I grew up in Rapid City, so I was like, I want to be in the big city one day.
Yeah.
And so I remember because we never actually took vacations when I was a kid. We would call visiting family a vacation. Like that's what it was. So we would say, okay, we're going to go the vacation to New York. What that meant was we're going to go visit our family in Connecticut, an hour and a half outside of the city, and we'll make the trip once for me. And, God bless my mother for doing that. But vacation, really, don't slap a label on things just because you think you can get away with it. But yeah, so every time we would go to the Connecticut, we'd go into the city. I loved the city. I loved it. So I always was like, I'm going to get back there. I want to go back there. I just want to, I don't know if I'm going to stay there forever, but I would love to live there. And then, it's at maybe 18, 19, I'm, Googling, I'm just like, okay, we're going to move out now. And then I'm Googling, city prices, rent. And no, there's just no way that I could afford anything, even remotely. Well, I shouldn't say remotely. I'm fairly close to the city right now, but, within 20 minutes of the city, there's nothing, there's just no way. And that's because a lot of the rental units are bought up by shell corporations from foreign countries, all of these fucking oil tycoons and fucking theme park magnates. They're fucking buying these fucking rental properties up and using it to launder money. But so I moved to New Jersey. That was the closest. I just went the closest proximity to New York that I could afford. And then from there, I finished college, met my girlfriend, moved in, and now we're here.
Excellent. So podcasting, why are you doing podcasting? Because when I hear you seem to have your shit together as far as like how you do your podcasts. I really enjoy them. The rambling, the rants, all your lists, all these things. It's a weird space to be in. Why'd you get into this?
So I actually had a chance, or my plan was to do a podcast since South Dakota. I just didn't start it until like 2020, I think 2019, like December of 2019. And I did it because I have a need for attention from people that I don't respect or love.
Okay. So I'm taking it. Did you have a split family? Was your dad not in the picture? We have some issues.
That's funny. No, so my dad was in the picture.
Okay.
It was split though. I didn't he was in the picture as far as a divorced dad goes in the picture. And it's a knock on him. He's a good dad, but they were divorced, and it was not like I mean, they were cordial, but they were, you know how some divorce you'll see like on television, they're like, yeah, we divorced, but now we're best friends and we just fucking make it work. It's like, you fucking cunts, both of you. Hate your ex. Don't have a healthy fucking a healthy recovery from heartbreak. Fucking push it down with drugs and alcohol like the rest of us and shatter yourself moving forward. That's what I say. Take out past burdens on your current loved one. That's the correct way to live life. The only way to truly experience life is to experience past pain. Okay? Because if you feel pain in the moment, you're a pussy. Okay? So you got to push it down. You have to be stoic and be able to feel your emotions and express them. The way to balance that is to not feel them in the moment, bottle them up, and then take them out on somebody else later. That way you're being stoic at one point and you're being emotional at the other.
Do you have siblings?
No.
Okay. So that then maybe answers part of that issue, right? Where you have the split parents and then you're vying for the attention on both sides. I don't know, maybe it happens with siblings. So I'm a family law attorney. So what you're saying here is I see this daily with clients that don't get along. Side note though, I have this is the most wacky thing. My neighbor, good guy, gets a divorce, starts dating this girl. She's going through a divorce and everyone's fine over there. They all get along. So he buys her old house from her ex-husband. And then the ex-husband is now renting the house next to me. And they just come over here and have parties. And I'm with you. I'm like, hey, burn this thing to the ground.
Yeah. It's a weird. Do they have kids?
Yeah.
There is a certain boundary that needs to be drawn when it comes to breaking off a relationship with an ex, especially with a child, just because it can be, maybe not, but if you don't explain things correctly or display affection correctly towards certain people, the kid can be confused because you're like, this is my dad. And, once you get to the age where like, I understand that you two made me, you fucked, you made me, you loved, you sweat on each other, you fucking, ugh.
Do you think that's the right way to describe it? To the kids. At what age? At what age do you tell them you sweat on their mom?
I heard from a teacher in Portland that the correct age is first grade.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing.
Have you ever seen Monty Python movies or anything like that?
I've heard I know of them. Someone's calling me racist online. You actually pointed this out. You said, do you care about the social media stuff? Of course I do. Look at this. P.S. It's racist. They're calling me racist. Why am I
on the show?
I think I put out a tweet that. What was the most recent racist tweet I put out? I said that the descendants of slave owners should get reparations because the government suppressed them by taking their slaves. That's what I said.
Right. Yeah. Interference with contracts. It's a good. So I only follow a bunch of people, but I put notifications on for just a few. And I've done that with you because some people, I want to see that. So if it feels like I'm stalking you, it's just because it comes up with Reed and a few other ones that I like and that I like to see their jokes and their stuff. So just throwing that out there. Anyway, Monty Python. So The Meaning of Life, and they do a spoof of it's kids in middle school, starting to be high school, I guess, whatever it is over in the UK. And John Cleese is going to show them sex ed. It's all boys school. And the whole theme there is he's actually showing he's going to bang his wife or his secretary in front of them. But they're too, it's the point is it's like a boring class that they don't want to pay attention to. They're all looking out the window at soccer. And he's like, what's foreplay? And they're like, yeah, you rub the clitoris. And he's like, you don't just go straight for the clitoris. Point is, I don't do a good job of relaying this, but what do you think about teachers actually showing kids how to do these things?
Just fuck them. If you're in a fucking middle school and you want to talk about gender identity, stop it. Just, if you're going to do this, just fuck them. Just let a kid fuck you. That's it. Let a little fucking, a little 13-year-old fuck you so he can go back to his friendship circle or his friend circle and go, I fucked Mrs. Hendricks. I fucked her. She had a weird smelling pussy, but I did it anyway. Like, that's like, just do it. If you're going to do it, just do it. because talking about gender identity, it's going to go right over these kids' head. Math goes over a kid's head. You think that fucking talking about how intersectionality plays a role in modern society is going to register with these children? Are you outside of your mind? It's not going to work. As far as the people teaching it in grade school, it's like it's clear now. I don't even know if like a lot of the libertarians and Republicans online, they keep saying they're like, oh, these are just people who want to fuck kids. I don't think that I don't think all of them want to fuck kids. I think a lot of them. Yeah. I think a portion of them, I think a large minority of them want to fuck kids. I think the others have been so brainwashed and manipulated to the point where they're just willing to go along with anything. And since this is the trend, they're going to do it. And I mean, at this point, did you see the thing that Biden put out about how if you are not compliant with the new LGBTQ plus rules, you are not going to get state funding. Yeah. I mean, so at that point, you ask yourself, well, because as soon as you start putting regulations and rules, a person's individuality goes away, and they'll just start doing shit for money, right? Same thing with the vaccine. It's like, I can guarantee you a lot of people got the vaccine who didn't want to get it, but their job said get it. And guess what? They're not going to fucking make a political point at their job when they have a family to feed. You know what I mean? Right. So that's the thing too. It's like it's a coercion. I think there's a lot of teachers who are getting absolutely shit on. And I think in the back of their heads, they're going, God damn it, they're right. God damn it, they're right. We should not be doing this, but I don't have a fucking choice. I'm scared. I don't want to. I don't know anything else. I don't have any other skills. What am I going to do if I get fired from teaching? You know what I mean? So it's just, it's a goddamn.
Okay. So what's worse? You've got a male teacher sleeping with a female student in like high school, or a female teacher, and not old Miss Krabappel, right? That smells like cigarettes and some sort of Old Spice that she stole from her husband. It's a younger teacher just out of college hooking up with a high school guy. Are those equivalent, or are they just as bad? And put yourself in each situation.
They're not just as bad. We have to come to the reality of the situation. The men treat sex differently. They register sex differently. Boys and girls underage register and process sex and sexual experiences differently. It's just what it is. I can't give you the ins and outs of how they process it differently, but I just can tell. You understand this is it's become so well understood that men and women treat and think of and process and understand sex differently, that it's become a root of cliche jokes. They're like, the wife, you don't want to like, it's so cliche at this point. Yeah. So we can't necessarily treat them similarly as far as, I don't want to say morality, but circumstance. You can't, it's not the same thing. I don't think that we should necessarily alter rules because of this. Because that's just, there's also the factor of you're just being fucking unprofessional as a female teacher. It's like, if you're a female teacher and you have sex with a student who is 18, it's not illegal. It's not, I mean, according to Western culture, American culture, it's not really immoral. It's a little unprofessional. Clean it up, bitch. It's just, and if you're a guy and you're fucking a student, I mean, it's pretty cool, but also get a wife,
Right. And so on both of those though, okay, let's even take the morality away from, let's even move it to college. Okay. So that it's not illegal, right? You've got like a 50-year-old professor banging some, freshman, old man, woman, girl, whatever the situation is. What's wrong with these people that is who they go? You think that's a power trip, that they can't get it anywhere else, or that this is their domain, and so they are just exuding their dominance?
Yeah, it's just low hanging fruit is all it is.
Okay.
I mean, most college professors are disgusting. Most college professors, you know, a lot of them have bad skin. We're talking about, you know, a lot of plaque psoriasis in the professor community. Okay. Your undergrad, especially, you get up to the PhDs, you know, I mean, they, you know, it's the, you know, you go to Dakota State University in South Dakota, look at the undergraduate professors and tell me that there's not a plaque psoriasis problem. I mean, it's just, so these guys are just, you know, they wear sweaters, they're overweight, they've been married for 25 years. They do the same thing every fucking day. Here's the issue with teaching. It's redundant. And redundancy is, for a lot of people, problematic. And it can create some pretty wild behavior. Their normal life is so routine-based and repetitive that sometimes they'll go wild on this other dark side where they're just looking for anything different than fucking what they have. And so, you know, I'm no psychologist, but I'm a fucking psychologist now in a podcast. Anytime you get on a podcast, you can just be whatever you want. You said you're a family lawyer, so am I. Okay, it's just whatever. You can do as soon as you get on a podcast, I'll just be whatever.
So is that really your name? I don't want to, I mean, did you
Zach
just
Brown?
pick? Yeah.
No, that's my name.
Okay. Mine too. And, you know, some people out there, they don't, what do you think of a podcaster that decides, or a kind of anonymous person online? What do you think of those people?
Do they have ratings? I don't give a fuck. I just, like, if I respect, here's the issue. I have a traditionalist streak in me. Where I hate it because there's the libertarian, like, anarchist streak in me, but then also, like, you know, everybody's like, oh, BlackRock, they're buying up tons of stock, and they basically at this point are manipulating the market to the point where it's no longer feasible moving forward to expect any type of competition or any new innovation or business. And it's like, oh, the traditionalist side of me is like, oh, fuck, I respect that. I respect power. But then on the other side, I'm like, well, I don't like that. And I'm very, you know, that's the internal struggle. Because here's the thing, there's nothing better than a fucking, you know, this is what I want for myself that I just don't have. Just tailored suits, steak every night, champagne, a fucking, you know, we'll do the eggplant rollatini for the appetizer, please. Don't fucking talk too much, bitch, because you're my waitress. You're not my friend. And it's just like, I respect that a little bit. I have that in me, but then also, yeah, we do need to burn it all down, kind of. So I don't know. And Tyler, you tell me. Don't you have a little bit of a background in psychoanalysis? Can't you tell me something?
I tell my clients that I'm a very expensive and poor therapist. So and I did have a girlfriend call me the Tin Man once. So no, that doesn't really work. Back to the schooling though. So when I think part of our problems that we have is kids are growing up and a teacher is the authority and the main authority. So they have that. And I mean, it was much more, my parents, like, you know, you always listen to your teacher, And then, you know, at some point I'm arguing with my dad about something that a stupid teacher has done. So I've tried to change that with my kids, of like, be skeptical about them. How were you growing up with that? Was that an issue? Did you just take it in? Cause you said, you know, teachers are useless, or I don't know what you actually said, but that's what I assumed you meant. And I agree.
How was I in school? You mean, like, what? How did
I? What did you think about teachers? What was your attitude? Did you take them as the authority figures, and then has it kind of like had to fix yourself in that mentality in a sense?
Yeah, I did. I definitely assumed a position of inferiority in the classroom. I didn't necessarily respect them, but I respected the fact that they had control over certain aspects of my life. Not respect in the way, not admire, respect in the sense that I kept myself in line. I really didn't get in trouble in school. In college, I got in a little bit of trouble.
Let's talk about that. Where'd you go to college?
So I went to college at Dakota State University. I transferred colleges twice. Went to three different colleges. Went to Dakota State University in Madison,
who's their
South
mascot?
Dakota. Trojans.
Oh, okay.
Trojans. I played baseball for them for 1 year.
Okay.
And then
Nice.
I was arrested twice for weed. And technically the first time I had an Adderall in my system, so they were going to charge me with a felony, but there were there was like an illegal, technically, I had a good lawyer, and there was an illegal search done, and there was an illegal, what do you call it? Illegal imprisonment, where you hold somebody not, you put some false imprisonment, I think. Yeah. The Miranda rights were not read until like after, like an hour or two into the process. So there were problems with how the police conducted themselves. So I got all of that. I think it was supposed to be an ingestion of marijuana, possession of paraphernalia, possession of marijuana, and then ingestion of a controlled substance. That was the
What was the paraphernalia you had?
It was a pipe. I think it was a weed pipe.
Was it a big one? Was it a little one?
No, it was a bowl. It was a little bowl. And because of I remember when we went to court, one of the cops who testified slipped up, and kind of it blew the lid wide open to the illegal search, and because the police report contradicted what he said, and so basically what happened is my roommate and I were supposed to testify, but then my lawyer was like, "You don't even have to fucking you stay here." And then the judge, after that session, the judge met with my lawyer and the DA, and said, "Listen," he was basically talking to the DA. He's like, "Listen, these kids are like they were 19, and you don't have much." And he said, "Just drop it to like an ingestion or a possession charge and just get him a fine, misdemeanor, get out of it." And then he said no. He said no, and then he carried it on for another like 3 months. I remember it's because it went into the summer. I had left college at that point, so I was in different towns, and I had to travel back and forth to pay my lawyer and shit like that. But then we didn't even go to court again. Eventually he just dropped it to the ingestion charge, or it was either ingestion or possession, I forget. But that was that. And then the second time,
hang on, before we go on that. So did your parents know about this? Did you keep it from them, or were they like fine?
Oh, I tried to keep it from them, but my dad at the time was highway patrol. And and so he found out.
So are you supposed to have like a card or something you flash at the police, like, "Hey, I'm a son of a cop"? And
yeah, that's in Jersey. They have that, the PBA cards. In South Dakota, they don't have anything like that.
Okay,
you get caught, you're fucked. And then the second time I got arrested was they pulled us over. They smelled weed in the car, but I had actually been DDing for two of my friends who were smoking weed. I was actually doing the right thing, and they arrested me for DUI because they'd smelled weed in the car. They didn't believe me when I said I didn't smoke weed. I passed all of the sobriety tests, the road sobriety tests. They took me in anyway, in the front seat, which was weird. My friend was in the back seat. I was in the front seat, not cuffed. They took me in. It was very bizarre. And that also happened in the same trial. So that happened like that trial was covering both of these events. And they took me in, and they have you piss in a cup. I pissed clean. So that was a problem for them.
Yeah.
And so that was another thing that my lawyer used. He was like, "Listen, you just arrested this kid for driving under the influence, and he pissed clean. So now you've got this plus the other things." And so all of those things were dropped to like one misdemeanor charge. And now I don't even know if it's on my record. It doesn't matter now. It's like weed.
So I think you had mentioned, and we'll keep walking through your misfit, adventures in college. But I think you had mentioned on one of your podcasts that you, or maybe it was with Reed or one of these, that you were more left growing up, at least until you became a libertarian. Did this kind of thing have any impact on you as far as civil liberties, or was it just kind of like the man is keeping me down? I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't think of it as like I didn't have the perspective of like, oh, I hate what they're doing because I'm a libertarian and I think people should have the right to. I just was like, I think I should be able to smoke weed because weed's
Well,
amazing.
you weren't dealing, right? Or maybe
No.
we're getting in some trouble here.
No, I wasn't. No, I've never dealt anything. I've never even given my weed to a friend. Like I fucking.
So you're selfish. Okay.
I was too fucking selfish to be a dealer.
Right.
But yeah, I'm still not as anti-cop as you might think. I'm still not as anti-cop as the overwhelming majority of libertarians. Maybe it's because my dad's a cop. Probably, but
is he still a cop?
No, he's retired. He does like evidence analysis, and so, but even he's loosened his perspective on that stuff too as he's gotten older. But I started left, loved Bernie because I didn't know anything, and when you don't know anything, there's nothing more amazing than an old Jew coming out to the podium and saying we should have free healthcare, and you're like, oh yeah, we should. Why isn't everything like that? Like why are we not doing that? And then you go through and you're like, oh, because one thing I did have that I carried from there to here, I hated Clinton. I hated her.
Yeah.
I hated her because I had caught wind of like the Clinton body count before that. And I wasn't conspiratorial at that moment, but I had, I'm sure there was something that tilted me toward leaning into that and going, oh, she's a crook. She's a pay-to-play scheme for her fucking political foundation. Even then I was like, Bill Clinton was a problem for the black community. And yeah, so I didn't like Clinton and I wasn't going to vote for Trump at the time because he was racist and a dictator and the worst thing that could ever happen to America.
Right.
And so I was like, Bernie is this guy. He's the guy. And so I voted for Bernie in the primaries.
Oh,
And
then he got screwed over.
Then he got fucked over by the DNC and Donna Brazile and Jake Tapper. And then I moved out here. I moved to New Jersey. Didn't register to vote because I didn't give a shit, and did not vote in the general election because I just didn't care at that point. I'm gonna plug my computer in because I didn't prepare for this.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. You can still hear me. I'll ask some more questions here. Yeah, Bernie Sanders is an odd-looking older man too. He looks almost Nutty Professor-like.
He has the look of a man who is, well, at this point, he just looks defeated.
Yeah,
he truly just looks defeated, and I don't blame him, dude. You run 2 successful Democratic primary campaigns and you still lose. Jesus, that hurts. That'll hurt a man. For the longest time, I actually thought he was a very genuine politician. And actually, I did up until very recently when he started taking money from, a lot of these corporations that are fucking the free market over. And, so it's very recently, in my opinion, I don't think that he's necessarily on track with my ideals, but it was of late. It was of late that I realized, not even realized that I think he just became a guy who was like, I can't be the fucking guy from Vermont who doesn't take money from big corporations and super PACs. I'm done. I'm fucking 186 years old. I just want a big house. I want to sell a book and I just want to be fucking done. I think he's just, there's nothing left. There's nothing left in that tank.
Did you ever flirt with the right, or was it just kind of like moving to the libertarian side? Okay.
Oh yeah, I was fucking watching those like Ben Shapiro owns SJW videos.
Yeah.
I was watching like Milo Yiannopoulos and
Steven
Crowder, Shapiro, even like Gavin McInnes. before he was cunty. Like back when he was like, he would make jokes. He'd make like off-color jokes on network or cable television. Everybody would be like, huh? And I was like, oh shit, I like to do that. Is that where I go now? And then so I went there for maybe like a matter of like 3 months. I was done. I was like, this isn't, because then you also have to take on like the John McCain's on that side, and you're like,
Mark, I'm trying to remember his name. Not Mark Stein, but and keep going. He's a talk show host. I don't remember. Fuck at me.
I don't know. So I bounced back from the right pretty quickly, and I found myself just in the middle, just criticizing both sides, just saying I'm not going to do anything.
Let's go back to the Gavin, because I think Gavin, when I moved to libertarians right around, I was right wing all my life, with a hard libertarian bent, and then I just gave up on them in 2016 for the Trump election, and I didn't hate Trump. I just was like, oh, he's not following values, whatever. And then I went to libertarian and then hardcore. But in that libertarian side, to begin with, a lot of the things I was listening to, these podcasts, Malice, and some of these other ones, they're dealing with McGinnis. And I liked a lot about him. He's on Rogan. He's interesting. He looks like the guy that, get off my lawn. He's a fascinating character. But what about him kind of pushed you over where you're kind of like, I'm not following? Was it the Proud Boys?
No, so I don't know if it was necessarily just him, but I will say I did have a Proud Boy on my show.
Okay.
This is behind the paywall. You get paid for this shit. You gotta go pay for that. But I interviewed Joe Biggs, who is now in federal prison, I believe, for something to do with the January 6th riot. And I was supposed to interview the leader of the Proud Boys at the time, who ended up to be a Fed. He was working for the Fed.
The black guy or the
Cuban, Enrique Tarrio. I had his number. I was texting with him. And so he just never like got back. It was like, it just fizzled as a conversation. And so I had Joe Biggs on, and this was like episode 50. And so what you have to understand is my podcast progression was disgustingly negligent. For the first maybe 35, 40, maybe 45 episodes, I didn't have guests. I did not have guests. And so I was just, and then I was wondering, I was like, why am I not growing? And so I was just talking in my room. And then so I started to have guests, and, kind of infrequently, like every third, fourth week. And so Joe Biggs was maybe my fourth, fifth, maybe sixth guest. I didn't really know how to handle guests on my podcast. And so I didn't know how to push back in a way that was conducive to a more interesting conversation, as opposed to pushing back and just being combative and have the other person shut down. Yeah. So I was just like, right. So I at that point, I was just like, anytime somebody would come on, I would just I might throw in, I'm like, well, I don't know, but then I would be like, but in your case, I also agree with this. So I remember like he was saying shit that I definitely didn't agree with, but I just kind of sat there here's what I will say about him in particular. I don't know about the Proud Boys. I haven't talked to all of them. I genuinely don't think he's racist. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's racist. I think he's very, he's so traditionalist. He's so culture driven. And anything outside of the culture is when he gets a little, but he does not give a fuck about which race it is, as long as they're sort of practicing this very Western, straightforward, traditionalist Christian religion, right? Christian or Western political values, social values. As long as a person does not really veer outside of that, I don't think and I'm sure there are Proud Boys who are racist, but I think the majority of them are probably in line with that.
How do you feel? Go ahead, finish.
No, I don't know. I'm not going to finish.
Did I save you? And you'd mentioned it earlier too. I see this a lot. That's really the pushback of anybody who might be a teacher or gay. Everyone's now a groomer, and it seems like it's. I don't mind. I think the jokes, that they push are fine. I just don't really join in on those because I think at some point you dilute. Anytime you overemphasize and you do this, you kind of dilute what those things are. So then when you do have a bad person, sometimes it's hard to make them stand out because now everybody is that way. How do you, and it sounds like that's kind of where, I don't know that was his thing, but it's also those Western cultural values. How do you feel about the labeling from kind of the right or the libertarian right, in a sense, doing those, the groomer or pushing back against all the culture? Is it going to be too much of a pendulum swing?
The problem with libertarians is every fucking libertarian on Twitter thinks they're funny, and they're not. They're not. And so they make like these jokes. There's a lot of people in Liberty Twitter who are saying the most shocking and outrageous and offensive thing for the sake of being shocking, outrageous, and offensive. Right. Hey, the first, second, third, fourth time you hear it, you're like, yeah, it's kind of pretty, because that they're saying it for that purpose, and you're like, that's funny. And then the 20th time you see it on your timeline, you're like, well, okay, though.
You're talking about Jose now, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm talking about any fucking Mexican who thinks it's okay to join this movement because it's not.
I'm kidding. I love Jose.
Yeah, Jose's great. Him and Sally Agorist, Sally Mayweather. They did a very interesting sort of podcast series.
Yeah,
I encourage people to go check it out, or don't.
In fact,
why don't you go, tweet racist things at Jose? He'll enjoy it. He'll masturbate to it.
Well, I'm gonna. He probably will. I've made this comment before, but I want to get your perspective. So you just said Sal, and it made me think of this. Flag behind a podcaster. Is it cool, or is it like hostage video?
I think the hostage video, that vibe, the hostage video vibe, is what makes it kind of cool.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
But is it like prisoner hostage, or is it like Fidel Castro?
It depends on the lighting. It depends on the lighting. If there's dim overhead fluorescent lighting, which is kind of like Sal's, it looks a little like I'm gonna saw somebody's heads off, or mine's coming off. It does give that vibe. I mean, listen, the flag behind you is just it's an easy background. I keep it natural. Look at this. You see mirrors.
I see that.
You see this is my girlfriend's. I don't know the word for it. Yeah, it's a mirror, and then it opens up, and the jewelry.
Oh, you're keeping her in jewelry. Nice.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm in a barn. I can't tell.
That's also cool. Do your animals wear jewelry? Because I have a lot of it behind me.
Right. Our chickens, they're pierced in many different places. We have chickens and some dogs. That's about it.
Okay.
Do you live in do you have, is an apartment? I don't need to dox you here, but my question really is animals. Yes or no?
No. I have 2 cats, so it's an apartment.
Are those animals? I guess they are.
They're an apartment animal. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I've had dogs my whole life, and I can't have a dog in the building. Okay. But my girlfriend loves cats. And so I was like, well, and honestly, you know what? They're not bad. At this point now, they're great. And they're fucking, they're truly insane creatures.
Yeah.
Like if you observe them, there will be, you'll wake up at like 3:30 and walk out into the living room, and they're just hanging on like the rod of the shades on the fucking window. And you're like, what the fuck is going on, dude? I walked out one time in the middle of the night. I was going to pour water, and my fucking on the fridge, just on the fridge, and it's like, what the fuck, dude? They are truly they are the constant. They're like a relapsing crack addict where they get sober for a while, and that's when they're like by your side, and they're like, this is great. I love sobriety, and then all of a sudden they just relapse, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on in here? They're like fucking. They're truly like all like cats. They have the behavior of a Syrian refugee running from a drone strike from the U.S. military. That's what they have. It's insane.
Let's go back to college. So you're in South Dakota. You go to college there. You get a few DUIs. You get a few, well, not DUIs. You get a few criminal issues. You got arrested, but those got taken care of. Why did you leave that school, and where'd you go next?
I left the school because I wasn't going to play baseball anymore, and there was no more fun. There was no more fun at that school. I couldn't have any more fun, and so I was like, "This is over." So I transferred.
Was that your degree? What was your degree in? Fun?
Yes, basically, I went from computer science to business, and neither one of them panned out. So, it might as well have been in fun. And then I transferred to the University of Sioux Falls, and was I was getting credits because I knew at that point I was like, I'm leaving South Dakota. I'm done. And so I was getting credits to get a degree in journalism, and then I got the credits there I stayed there for the rest. So for the next year after the arrests, I went back to DSU for a half semester. Then the other semester I went to USF, and the next year I had moved out to New Jersey. And then it was pretty uneventful. My time in Sioux Falls was completely uneventful. And then I got to New Jersey, and that was pretty uneventful. I mean, it was better than South Dakota, but it was uneventful. This was the time, like this was pre-COVID New York City, where you would walk, like my friends and I would just walk in, right? We'd take the train and we'd just walk, and we would just smoke blunts and fucking drink and just walk around. And that's the cool thing about the city. When it's not fucking violent, you can just do that. That's the actual thing that's fun. Just walking around, and now it's dog shit.
Did it turn violent? Do you think, there's a lot more violence, at least it seems right now. You think this is, or these shooters, you think COVID lockdowns have anything to do with this?
Yeah, for sure. That and the weird, it was like in tandem, like this massive woke movement in liberal states to sort of, formulate the narrative that the criminal is the victim. Yeah. And partially, it's a shame because partially that's true. I don't think anybody should be locked up for weed. I think that anybody who's locked up for weed right now is a victim. And that's just, you're like, well, they broke the law. Well, fuck you. Fuck the law at that point.
Right.
So I think that, but then also you're like, in New York, we have this no cash bail law where somebody can fucking beat the shit out of an elderly Asian woman, and then the next day they're just ready. Their knuckles aren't even sore. They're like, who's next? Who's next? I'm going to go straight to Chinatown. I don't care how bad it smells. We're going straight down there. We're going to find somebody, and we're going to fucking pick on them. I mean, it's insane. So at the same time that you're locking people down, closing down stores, you're basically at the same time, again, creating this environment in twofold, creating an environment where criminals can thrive. Because one, you have these woke policies that are curated to sort of empower criminals. And two, you're making everybody sort of tentative to go outside and approach people and do all this and all that. And so that is the perfect environment for a criminal to be empowered and feel like they can do what they want. And again, the lack of consequences, it's just, I haven't gone to the city for a long time just because it seems, I think it'll come back eventually. New York will bounce back, but it just right now it's no good.
So did you get your degree in journalism then?
Yeah, I did. It was a fucking waste.
Okay, so you're not using it.
Time. No. What was I going to waste? It was fucking right at the fucking There was no mainstream media source that was going to take me. The best case scenario was going to write at the Daily Stormer, and I would be considered. At that point, they'd be like, I'd
Right.
write op-eds, and they'd be like, "That's a little much. Why don't you calm down?"
You're even too much for the Daily Stormer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite something. So libertarianism. I mean, look, it's a shit show, I think, but I think there's some positives about it. It's interesting that that's kind of where you're settled. It sounds like to me like that's kind of like if you're going to tether it anywhere, it's probably in that realm. Is that it's safe to say?
Yeah, I hate to tether. I don't like to do it. I hate to label myself anything politically because it just is fucking stupid in my opinion. But if gun to my head, I got to choose. Yeah, by far the closest political movement that I can identify with is libertarianism for sure. No question. Yeah.
So, okay. So you mentioned and then like for me, so I was probably more like you on like the cop thing, and I've changed on that, but I don't say like burn them all like Scott Horton. Like, so we're in Reno and he's at the Starbucks in the hotel, basically fed posting just out in public saying, burn all the cops, da 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 da. Is that sounds like something you said you're still kind of holding on to. And do you think it's only because of your dad?
No, I think that's certainly a part of it. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, also I think it's just, there's this, when you get a bunch of libertarians in the room, you have to understand that there's a reason why people tend to gravitate towards certain political ideologies. And a lot of it has to do with personality, or a decent amount of it or a portion of it has to do with personality. And there's something that libertarians need to hear. Not everybody wants to have to fucking have the responsibility to shoot somebody in the head if they break into their house. They want to be able to call somebody else. And there are certain people who want to take on that responsibility and can handle it responsibly. Okay? That's just a fact of the matter. And whether or not you think that that's the most efficient or effective method of handling those situations is null and void. It doesn't matter because not everybody is you. Okay? And it doesn't matter how localized you get. There's always going to be somebody with a disagreeing sentiment, whether it's about policing or whatever. It's just like, and then at what point do you go? Because I mean, libertarians love to think, in my opinion, that you can fracture this country into a bunch of different stuff, and you just say everybody can just, if you have a disagreement, go to another community and just be hyper localized and have your own thing, and nobody's going to tread on anybody and whatever. But it's like, how small are you going to make these communities? Because say you have a community of 100 people, guess what? There's going to be disagreements.
Yeah.
And then at what point do you just revert back to democracy? Okay. And I'm not saying that the democracy that we have now is working. I'm not saying that it's a good idea to have 49% of a nation of 340 some million people completely and utterly dissatisfied with their government and the political, direction that the country's going. And I'm not saying that, I'm not disagreeing with the idea behind what would make the libertarian movement think that, but I just think that when you break things down, like the cop thing, like the hyperlocalization and secession and all of this, you're still going to have problems. And I will say those problems would probably be easier to manage in those situations, just because it's a smaller problem. It's a smaller amount of people, but you're still, everybody, they think, oh, democracy is not the way. You have to go to anarchism. Well, in an anarchy-based society, you're still going to have a lot of people who disagree. And what do you do at that point? Do you just let everybody do whatever they want all the time, everywhere, no matter what? There's always going to be disagreements. How do you handle disagreements?
I think the Libertarian Party kind of answered that this weekend with parliamentary procedures. That's how you do it. You ask for points of personal privilege, and you resolve everything that way. No, it was a shit show there too. My wife said, because she went along with me and she's just hanging out at the hotel. By the way, she thought she smoked meth at one point. I don't think that was the deal. But that aside, it is Reno.
Fucking dusty ass rock of a state.
It was horrible. But at one point she's like, why'd you bring me to Comic-Con? And it's a unique looking display of people. Yeah.
Scott Horton looks like somebody in line to meet Superman. He really fucking does. He's a fucking genius, but holy shit, dude. That ill-fitting suit is just, it's pretty fucking.
He's so thin, he can get a slim fit suit and be just fine. And someone just needs to spend the money for it.
I mean, for Christ, the libertarian community, can we fucking, let's put together a GoFundMe to get Scott Horton a tailored suit.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I'm down for that.
And the problem is, he's just so much fucking smarter than everybody to where you go, hey, Scott, do you want to get a tailored suit? And he'd go, no, and I'll tell you why. And I'm like, well, fuck. Because everything you're going to say is going to be right, you little fucking autist bitch. You so fucking smart.
Nevada is a glowy state. Yeah, okay.
What is glowy? What does that mean?
That's why I'm just saying, okay, like I know. I'm old. I don't really know. I think he means like a Fed posting. I don't know. Like,
you don't look old. You look like you're 35.
Oh, thank you.
38.
51.
Wow, you take care of yourself.
I do.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah. The skin issue that you mentioned, I don't necessarily have. So that's fortunate for me.
Good.
Yeah.
You stayed in moderate shape, at least it looks. And
I did. Thank you for interviewing me. I'll just answer this question. So I do a lot of bike racing and cycling stuff, and I broke my neck and my back last year. So it's been a bit of a recovery coming back. I'm gaining a little weight and then even when I had COVID, I didn't get the fortunate side effect of losing your taste where you can actually maybe just cut down on your meals. And I'm really big into burritos. So it's and beer. So it's been a problem.
Yeah. No. I mean, all the original teeth?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I have a family of dental. So, I did this.
Are you Jewish? It seems like the success in your family leans toward Jewish. Dentists and lawyers, for Christ.
Right. It's definitely not. I'm German, and my grandfather was actually in World War I. Side note there. But for the Americans. But yeah, German lineage. So no. I had a comment on there, but go ahead. Do you want me to ask a question? Maybe I should ask a question.
Ask a question. You're the host. Take some fucking responsibility, Tyler. God damn it.
No, I know what it was. I had a tweet because, you got the libertarians and then the post-libertarians, and post-libertarians are saying, hey, get your shit together, right? Get a job, make sure you can afford to do these things. And then my counter to both sides is get your teeth fixed and get fit. Once you do that, then talk to me about either one of those things. I don't want to, the post-libertarians, you look at some of those and you're like, okay, you're not looking so good. Maybe you have a little money in the bank, but you're not going to get that lady to stay with you. I mean, at some point she may not, she may leave you. So get fit, get some teeth. I don't know. That's my idea.
I am in and out of ketosis like a fucking yo-yo, dude.
Talk to me about that.
Listen, I have the tendency to get fucking big. And it's all on the stomach. Right now, I'm probably I don't look, so I'm 5'9".
Okay.
I'm 5'9", and I'm a little chunky right now. How much would you assume that I weigh?
5'9", a little chunky. I'm going to say 165.
Not even fucking close, dude.
225.
Well, now you're just fucking. I'm about 200 right now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to see the guns from here, so I don't really know what I'm dealing with here. Do you have really solid body? Look, are you like Jose, where you're just kind of like same width as height?
I'm kind of dense.
Okay.
I'm not like Jose. Jose's like 5'-3". Like he's 5'-3" and 184 pounds.
Right.
But so I'm like 5'9", 200. And even when I get, to be fair, even when I get when I'm thin, I'm still 175. For me to get pretty thin, I'd have to lose probably about 25. And that's pretty heavy, actually. It's 175. But yeah, I mean, I'm in and out of ketosis because I'm an all or nothing person. I can't just have some grains here and there and then just parcel that and just, stick to consistently, take in a few carbs, but just be responsible and hold yourself accountable. No, I can't do that. Either I have no carbs in my system, and it's just coffee and meat and fucking and avocado, or it's fucking lasagna. That's it.
Right.
There's no in between. And so
Well, you drink the tea. I always hear you talking about you drinking your tea. Is that a sweet tea?
That's another thing that I go in and out of. I like it, but it's a lot of these things, a lot of the things that I do, it's based around what preceded it. So if I wake up in the morning and I lift before work, which is a bitch because I start at 8:30 on the East Coast, and it's disgusting here. The mornings in the East Coast are just disgusting, truly.
Yeah.
I have a really good chance then of carrying out the rest of my day, being healthy. I'll be keto. I'll drink chamomile tea at the end of the day. And I'll feel good. I feel mentally sharp. But as soon as the more I fuck up throughout the day, the more likely I'm going to fuck up later in the day. So if I don't lift, that's one strike. Then I'm much more likely at lunch to skip the meal that I brought for lunch and go, hey, let's get a little fucking sushi. Let's do a 3-roll special. You know,
right?
Shrimp tempura when they have they bread it
right.
around it.
Yeah.
And then so it's just like I'm a big momentum guy. You know, it depends on where it starts. And then, my next decision is always based on the decision I make now. And so if I eat a slice of pizza, the day's over. I'm taking down a bag of Sun Chips too. But if I fucking eat an avocado and a little piece of chicken, there's no fucking way for dinner I'm going to fuck it up. It's all
so you start out in the morning with lifting. Is that what you're doing? Or do you ever save it for the afternoons?
I have an hour for lunch. I can't really.
Well, you don't have to podcast every night. You can.
I don't podcast every night. I mean, here's the problem. So
I don't know what you do. Yeah.
So I get off work. It's 5:30. I can go to the gym 6:30. Get home at 7. It's like I'd much rather just go straight home. Get home at 6. Cook dinner. Eat dinner at 6:45 because you're not supposed to eat
like after 7.
Yeah, and so I'd much rather do that. I suppose I'm not very flexible. That's the thing too. Where if I miss it in the morning, I'll be like, "Fuck it, I'm going at night." It's like
I thought you meant like touching your toes or stretching, but yeah, I get that too.
That's also I'm not very good at that either.
Right,
but I'm not very flexible in my daily routine.
Gotcha.
And so and I think actually especially because I'm doing things that are kind of unsustainable because I make these like insanely like keto is fucking ridiculous. To stay in ketosis for any amount of time is stupid. It's really ridiculous. And so is waking up at fucking 4:30 in the morning and getting on the road. That's ridiculous too. So it's like I instead of trying to force myself to stick to this, I should probably just learn to be more flexible because not everything is. A lot of the things that I'm trying to do are not necessarily all that sustainable because things happen. You end up going to bed at 12 or 1 for whatever reason. You're not going to be able to get up that next morning and just hit it. So. I don't know.
Look, and I'm saying I'm working with you here because I think fitness and routine is important. So you mentioned you played baseball. So I did these kind of group sports too. And then you realize when you're done with college, they're gone. I mean, what are the odds you're going to go and hook up and play, football or basketball? It just makes it more difficult. Your buddies, right? So you have to, unless you just want to be a lard ass, you kind of have to figure out a way to structure your life, get fit, and to do those things. So you're doing those. It sounds that's good. You're a young man. I implore you to do that. Ketosis. Explain to the people here at Ketosis. My understanding is it's basically like durations where your body is burning fat rather than, and maybe I'm totally wrong. Talk to me.
Yeah. So ketosis is based on what are called macronutrients. And if you, depending on what you eat, it's based on. I fucking meal prep Spud enough. Sometimes I don't. To be fair to her,
I have a wife. She's gone right now, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
So it's based on protein, fats, and carbs. Those are the main things.
Okay.
And you to be in ketosis, you have to balance those to the point where your body will get into a state of ketosis where instead of having enough sugar or carbs in your body to where it burns that for energy, it burns fat for energy. Okay. And if you can get, here's what I will say about keto. If you can get in it and stay in it for like even just a week, you'll fucking see results quickly and you'll feel good. You'll fucking think better. You're much sharper. You're much sharper. You feel better. You feel fucking invincible. You start saying slurs in a supermarket because you feel invincible. Okay. It's fucking, but it's just, again, the moment you just eat a piece of toast, gone, over, see ya. And it's just not, it's just, you know what I mean? So it's a very, very, very difficult diet to adhere to.
Okay, but you've been doing it, or it sounds like it's a struggle, kind of like some sort of religion. I'm not equating it with a religion. I'm just saying, the guilt.
It is guilt. It's a big guilt thing. And I'm not religious either, but this is where I probably get some of that. It's like, it's huge. It's big guilt where you're like, especially, dude, the biggest fucking guilt is when you started off good. And then about 2:30, you just fucking saw, like, I don't even know. You just saw like a fucking, like a sandwich, or a burger with the bun and everything.
Yeah.
And you eat it and you're like, fuck. Because again, ketosis is it's based on, it takes time to get into ketosis. And so just because you ate well in the morning, you can't just eat a fucking burger in the afternoon and then be okay if you're going to do this, So it's like, the guilt.
Do you count calories at all?
Nope. No calories.
Okay. So I did that a few years ago. I would count them. And the best part that it did for me, it made me realize every little thing that you just happen to snack on. Like if I was really good about that and I'm like, oh, you just have this little muffin or something over here. And next thing you know, that's a few hundred calories and they just all completely add up. So for me, it was not, that I was super strict other than the realization of doing that. Now you cook. Go ahead.
I do cook. Yes. I like where you're going with this. I do cook because I'm bending gender stereotypes for a more equitable world. Okay. I cook and I've recently, so the cooking becomes problematic too, because it gets very boring.
Yeah.
There's a specific, now you can go on these fucking websites where they're like, you can cook this for keto. And you're like, well, I don't have the skills or the time. I don't have the skills or the time. The prep is 30 minutes. It takes an hour to cook. Who the fuck who is doing this? Okay. It'd be one thing if this is a stay-at-home mom who got the house done good early and they have time. It's like, okay, great. Do that. I encourage you to do that because that's much healthier for your kids and yourself and your husband or wife or whoever makes you come. But it's just it's not sustainable. So again, when you don't have a lot of time. So my girlfriend and I both work. I come home. I'm the one who knows how to cook well. And so it's just fucking, you put the chicken in the oven, you put the broccoli in the pan, and you just eat it. You just fucking eat it. And it gets boring. And that's a problem too with keto because food is such an artifact of life. There are so many implications with food culture. There are foods that come from different cultures. There are foods that have history. There are foods that I've eaten food at restaurants that I don't even think that I liked it, but I'd order it again because it's fucking so different. And it's because food is like having that sensation of tasting something you've never tasted before, it's like, oh, it's a new sensation. It's a sensation.
Yeah.
Right. So when you hear something you've never heard before, you're like, wait, what the fuck was that? And you're like, I want to hear it again. I don't even know if I liked it, but I want to hear it again. It's that same thing. And so food is like it's a big aspect of pleasure, right? It's a beautiful experience sometimes. And when you just reduce it to, I'm just doing this to survive.
Yeah.
It just becomes very mundane. It takes, it does take a certain facet of a pleasurable lifestyle. It does kind of reduce it to you feel a little boring. You feel,
but ultimately that could be perhaps more healthy in a sense, because or people have they eat when they're stressed. There are all kinds of things. So my wife and I were playing this. It's like some card game date night thing, and you pull a card out and ask a question. So one of those, I just thought of it here, was the other night. If money is not an issue, would you rather hire someone that fixes all your meals, or that you can become go to school to become a great chef? What would you prefer on those?
I would definitely. Do I have to clean it up after I'm done cooking? Because here's the thing. So when you cook really good meals,
it's a mess.
Cook really good meals, it's a mess. And
this is what we have for kids.
Yeah. So if honest to God, if I would definitely take cooking the meal if I didn't have to clean it up, because it's implied that if somebody's cooking it for you, you don't have to clean it up. If you have the money, right, you're not gonna. But if you have to cook it yourself, you're probably gonna have to clean it up. But here's what I will say: if I don't have to clean it up, or at least I have a decent amount of help to clean up, like 75% is them and 25% is me, I would 100% cook. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you that my wife is a great cook, so she already said, well, she wouldn't need to go to class. I would definitely hire someone. That's just it's a problem. Like this weekend, I don't know. I'm just gonna eat corn dogs and pizza. It sounds horrible, and then I'm gonna have some stomach problems and probably need. Yeah, dude.
So I fucking today, because my work, a lot of it is.
I don't eat corn dogs, by the way.
Today I ate like a fucking child. I ate like a child today. Truly.
Which ethnicity? Because the gas.
Dude, I ate like a Spanish kid in Harlem, dude. It was fucking bad.
Spicy.
Yeah, I had fucking. Dude, so like from noon to like 2:30 was all meetings for me today, and so immediately your eating schedule's fucked.
Yeah.
Right. And in the meetings, you don't even notice because you're in conversation. And so I get out and I went to 7-Eleven to actually get this, because I like to drink like Propels and during podcasts. So I was getting this, and I fucking got one of those taquito things from 7-Eleven, dude. Two of them. I got two.
Was it in one of the ovens? Type of, in the glass you look through and you.
Yep, it was in one of those, and I got.
Were there any hot dogs rotating in there?
There were plenty. Yeah, there were plenty, and so I got the taquito, and then I got the a piece of pizza, and when I got, dude, I think it like pretty close to starting this podcast. I took a shit that hurt so bad it like hurt my balls too. Like that's how fucking it. Like it was crazy, and that's another thing too. The consequences of eating like I'm only 26 years old, and like
should not be.
I mean, it's honest to God. But here's also the thing too. This is coming off of 2 days of eating really good, and so that also is in place. So I noticed that if I go a decent amount of time eating well, the moment I fuck up, I just start fucking pissing. I just start shitting fire. I start pissing fucking blood. I'm dying. Are
you good with spicy food? Because sometimes I'll have things. I used to go to this place. They'd have a 5-alarm burger, and you'd eat it, and you're like, that's like 2 alarms at best. And then you had the other 3 the next day, next day as you're pushing it out. Are you good with spicy food? Is that a problem? Or do you like to make it yourself? I don't know what your heritage is. You've got the red hair. What is that?
I don't know. I've never
Celtic?
done it. I've never done it. I'm assuming it's like German, Irish, Scottish, a tandem of the the 3 most disgusting countries on earth. Truly.
Right. Yeah.
That or England. Right. England's bad. England is full of gross people. Truly.
Have you been there?
No. And
okay,
God
yeah,
and thank the Lord for that. I don't plan on it. Oh, you want to go see Big Ben? You want to go see Big Ben? How about you take a swim in that river next to it? Fucking get hepatitis A, B, and C.
And they pronounce it the Thames, but it's Thames. I don't know. It's a weird country they have going on over there. Actually, much like the Northeast. Very much more Northeast. I think. Do you ever go up and visit Massachusetts and those areas?
Never been to Massachusetts. Never been to the furthest north in the Northeast I've been is Connecticut.
Okay.
I would like to visit like Vermont and Maine. I'd like to go to Maine. I'd like to go to Maine and commit a hate crime. I would love to do that. So
before I ask you which kind of hate crime, I would encourage you to listen back I have interviewed Toad and Reed at Reno. Toad had a long soliloquy of his shit story. If you're interested in that, go check it out. I would encourage everyone to, if they want to be disgusted. Part of it is that he went to a buffet and ate everything possible, and then he wonders why this happened. So hate crimes. What's your favorite hate crime to commit?
I like vandalism.
Okay.
Because nobody actually gets hurt. I don't like it when people get hurt in videos. Like somebody gets the shit kicked out of them. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
But you fucking, it's kind of funny. Like, you remember the guy who got arrested for putting bacon on a mosque? I mean, it's not. Now, is it? Would I be upset if I were a Muslim? Yes, I would feel that somebody was out to get me. However, in the scheme of things, if you take away the risk of danger or actual, you know what I mean? It's pretty fucking funny because it's, it's a silly thing that they, it's bacon. It's bacon. It's part of everyday culture. You throw a piece of bacon on somebody, in any other context, you're going to be fine. But you put a piece of bacon on the mosque, you're fucked. So I was going to do anything, I would probably stab a Jew.
If you graffiti,
and then I would manipulate him in defending me in court. That's what I would do.
That's the way you do it. Yeah, I think it was Theo van Gogh. It was a guy in the Netherlands that had done some writing, some op-eds maybe against the Muslims or cartoons. I'm trying to remember what it was, and I think he was killed. So you got to be careful with that. I mean, like the Book of Mormon, the play that they put on there, you don't see Mormons in their special underwear coming out and going after Trey Parker. But you put, a bacon on a mosque, you might be in trouble.
What was that? Remember the controversial Brit? His name was Tommy something.
Yes.
Yeah, I forget his
because
last name.
It was at the same time you were probably into Gavin, Tommy. Yep. He got X'd off of everything, and yes.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what his deal was.
Didn't he do something too like that, where you're like, what he was basically trying to do was like, I want free speech, and in England they don't have it, and he did something. I don't know if he was the one that put the bacon on the mosque, but I don't think he was the one, but he did something, of that ilk and was arrested.
I think he was going out and interviewing people and then going into those safe places. And he had, there were like off limits for the police to go to. He was reporting on those in the UK and then in Sweden. That's just my.
I don't know. The Swedes, they don't,
that might have been Tim Pool.
Yeah, the Swedes, I think, are romanticized in America. The Scandinavians are romanticized. I don't think they realize how not quite as accepting of other cultures they are, because they're not as American. Like they think that like there's like, oh, we should be like the Scandinavian countries. It's like, well,
they're all homogenous.
Yeah, it's like, okay, go try to start a Somalian community in fucking Denmark. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be like it is in Minnesota. Minnesota has a fucking big Somalian or Sudanese. I forget what it was.
No, I think you got Somali in there too. I think it was Joe Biden had said something about Somali taxi cab driver he had there once. He can make mistakes. I think that's the case.
Yeah. No,
What's your favorite?
Oh, go ahead.
And good. No, you're fine.
I never start sentences with a goal. I just start and then I find my way. So anytime you interrupt me, you can just continue because I never had a goal.
What country do you want to visit that you haven't?
Oh, what country would I want to visit?
And why?
I want to visit. It sounds weird, but I'd probably want to visit somewhere in like the Middle East. I'm obsessed with like ancient
beheadings.
Yeah, well, you can get that in Mexico with the cartels. I'm obsessed with like ancient Middle Eastern like temple, like there's like these massive things carved in, like in Jordan. There's like this massive temple carved into the side of a rock.
Yes,
like it just it blows my fucking mind, like truly. That or maybe South America. I like temples, pyramids, shit carved into the side of fucking cliffs, all of that. Wherever I can find that. I don't necessarily have a country. It's just I like that shit. I like. So
what about the Native American or the Indians, like down in South America that had put theirs kind of up in the side of the hills too? You want that, or you want it a little bit nicer?
No, I mean, listen, I'll take whatever. There was a story that broke. That they're using like this laser technology to go over the Amazon rainforest to try to see underground so they don't have to excavate the landscape, and they're finding all types of like of what look to be like roads and shit that are under the soil. And so like it seems like, and I think what's the fucking guy on Rogan who talked about Graham Hancock talked about this. I haven't read his book. I bought it but I didn't read it, and that's kind of what I do with all books. He talked about like it seems like there were people in North America and South America long before accepted history says so. And a big thing with that was the Amazon rainforest. Like there seemed to be like massive civilizations that don't seem to be very well documented. And so this laser technology that's going through and they're seeing underground, and they're seeing like patternized roads and buildings. Like, dude, that fucking excites me. That's the shit that I would want to go visit. I don't want to go visit fucking, they're like King Henry. I don't give a fuck about King Henry. King Henry looked like me. Fuck him. I want to go see like weird shit when people were fucking, dude, there's a evidence that people in the Amazon rainforest were like chemically manipulating the soil to grow crops, because the Amazon rainforest is notoriously, I guess, known to not be able to grow a lot of healthy food for a society. Like it's just not something that it's not conducive for an agricultural society. But there's evidence that they were doing something to the soil. There's a word for it.
Fertilizer?
No, yeah, fertilizer, MGO, fucking I don't even know the name of it. Monsanto. Yeah, that's where they got the name. It sounds like Monsanto does sound like an ancient Amazonian tribe. Right. The Monsantos were here in fucking 1230 BC, but they were doing something to the soil. There's evidence for that. And so like that's the shit that I want to go visit. I want to go visit like a dig site. I don't want to go visit fucking, I don't give a shit about. That
sounds like a chore. So I like to take vacations where I just either,
that's also, you're acting like I have. So here's the thing. I would like to take a vacation if I was going to just simply do like I need to chill out vacation, then I'd go somewhere like cold. I don't really like the hot. I'd go like to a cabin in fucking somewhere in the Swiss Alps and just sit in a hot tub on a cold day and fucking smoke a cigar and just settle down. Let's just settle the fuck down. That's what I do.
Right. Well, you're 26. Are you looking to settle down soon? I mean, I don't want to push you into proposing online here to your girlfriend, but What are the prospects? What are we looking at here? The ladies in the chat want to know.
There's certainly the plan. I would prefer to have a nuclear family structure. That would be the plan. BLM.
Right.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah. So what's interesting too, we were talking about this at Reno with I was sitting around guys. I don't know if you know Brian McWilliams, he's Lions of Liberty. And we were talking about how this post, once again, get your shit together, blah, blah, blah. But I also equate it with people talk about like having kids and like, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that obviously I'd say get married. I'd suggest that, but then we're going to have all this money and we're going to do this and this before you have kids. And sometimes it's just like, maybe just have kids. And then sometimes that forces you to get your shit together. So is there plans here for that? Are we, are you looking to, I'm going to make sure I have X, Y, and Z done before we do these other steps? You seem more spontaneous.
No, I'm not. I'm actually not spontaneous.
Okay.
But here's the issue. So sometimes I actually have to force myself. So sometimes people assume that I'm spontaneous because it's an active thing that I do. I have to force myself to be spontaneous because if I don't, I won't do anything new. I won't do anything new. Like I will fucking sit on my couch and watch the same goddamn podcast episode every single fucking day.
Wow.
Truly. I am truly a creature of habit. And it's a lot of people think that that's paradoxical to how I come across. I think
it's because of when you, like you said, you don't have an end goal when you start to talk. So I equate that with you're just this free spirit and come what may, you're just going to do whatever.
No, I'm
not a good psychiatrist, obviously.
Yeah, no, I actually am. I'm pretty traditionalist, like for what I want for myself. And I'm pretty in fact, I think I'm to a fault. I want to plan things out. Some of the most successful people that I've ever met in my life don't think things out. I mean, they do, obviously a little bit, but then they just do it. They fucking just do it. I will sit and think about something for 4 hours until to the point where I just have thought myself out of it and go, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? Then I got to do it with it. And then I'll just be like, I don't want to do it anymore. Some of the most successful people, there's a guy I know, I used to work for him. Very wealthy. I mean, he literally will just do shit. He would propose, he would come up to me and he'd be like, what do you think of this? And then I would go like, well, what if this happens? And he goes, well, I don't. And then he'd be like, well, and then he would just do it. And it would work. It would work. He would just fucking. So I think, there's obviously a balance when it comes to spontaneity, but I think I think about things to a fault. And so again, that's me. Sometimes I come across like spontaneous because it's just me forcing myself to maybe do something impulsive. I don't know,
I'm actually very much the same way. My wife is, so it'd be interesting to know kind of where your girlfriend is on that. My wife is not came home a few months ago and she had just started a house project, painting this and that. And, I'm the only one that could finish it. So I'm now involved in it and I take more time and I'm more precision but her pushing me on those aspects has been really, it's a good thing. Dude. Right. And it makes me get out of the comfort level a little bit.
When sometimes I remember one time I came home and everything was moved, but nothing was actually put in a final place. There was shit on the area. It was so, and she had started this project where she was going to clean everything and then rearrange. Right. And then I came home.
Imagine if you're blind.
Dude, I came home and I was a part of it. Now I'm a part of this. She's like, oh, you're home now. You're going to help. And so in my mind, I'm like, why would you start something that goddamn well? You're not I would have at least I wouldn't have even done it, but I would have parceled it out. Right. She just was like, we're going to take everything off. We're going to clean everything. And then we're going to fucking put everything in a different place. And I said, you're lucky that I'm not in a bad mood because I would hit you. I fucking hit you right in the face.
Right.
I fucking.
Is she your size or bigger, smaller? Well, I mean, it's with the.
She's like an inch small. She's like an inch. I mean,
because I mean, nothing's worse than hitting a woman and then she goes down and then comes back up. Right? She needs to just stay down. So you gotta pick your spouse correctly.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You got to get behind him. You gotta get behind him and throw the fucking the forearm shiver. You got to put that forearm in the neck, in the jugular.
Yeah.
You want to? Let me tell you something. If you take one thing away from this fucking podcast, it's how to knock a woman out. And it's because a lot of guys think they have the strength to knock somebody out. A lot of times they don't. And a lot of times when they don't knock the person out on that first punch, they get a little nervous. Don't take the risk. Go for the ease game. Go for the long game. Get behind him. Throw that forearm shiver. She deserved it. What was she doing? Don't listen. We need to ask: what was she wearing? I think if there's one thing that the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, what was she wearing? What was she doing? Okay, let's bring that back. Let's get the 50s vibe. Okay, she's like, he raped me. It's like, well, you know, what were her grades in high school? Let's start asking questions. Is all I'm saying. Let's get some context behind these situations.
Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, did you follow it? These are the important libertarian questions.
I followed it on whatever people would post on Twitter. I followed it. Like, I heard about her shitting on his bed, and, you know, I saw his puffed up face. God, he looks bad. It's bad.
Yeah, he's old. He's older than me, I think. So yeah, it's bound to happen. I mean, you can't be 21 Jump Street forever. So
you have $183 million.
It's true, but he has a hard alcohol and drug problem. So, or did?
Does he?
That was a lot of the testimony. He drank a lot. He would pour a ultra big pint of wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of sugar, too. It's a lot of carbs, Johnny. It's
right.
A lot of carbs.
Right. Yeah. So the Me Too, I think that the only thing I really cared about this thing coming out, the Amber Heard, you know, Johnny Depp, although
I'm going to interject just because I think that I am superior to everyone all the time. Trump. Can you imagine Trump in ketosis, fired up, more energy than he's ever had before, kind of looking fit, right? Suit, like the arm of the suit still like goes past his fucking hands for some reason. And he's just out there yapping, dude, yapping. He's got a little bit of a jawline. There's a lot more loose skin because he lost the weight. He feels more confident than he ever has. Keto Trump 2024. Fuck yeah. Come on now. I will not vote for Trump, but I'll vote for Trump in ketosis. I'll put that on the record.
What about the ticket of both in ketosis, by the way, and losing exceptional amount of weight, maybe even a little bit of a tummy tuck? Chris Christie as his VP with a lot of like saggy, losing 100+ pounds. What do we think of those two?
No, Chris Christie would have to gain 100 more pounds for me to even have any respect for him. I mean, he truly is an embarrassment of a politician. The only thing good he ever did was prosecute Jared Kushner's father. And that's it. That's it. He got a picture taken of him on the beach where it looked like his thigh were the remnants of a Libyan apartment complex after an Obama drone. He's a disgusting, filthy, living being who needs to probably be put out of his misery. And, you know, that's me being nice, by the way. This is a person who looks like he's suffering. You look at that fucking neck of his and tell me he's not suffering. I mean, for Christ.
Well, that's how I decided that COVID wasn't that big of a deal. He got it. And you're like, well, if this guy's getting over it, maybe we're okay. Before we head out here, I want you to talk about, because it's you just had a recent episode, and I got the feeling it was all about lists. And I got the feeling you had compiled those and recorded them over several days.
Those are from prior episodes. Those are like months back. Yeah. At the end of every solo episode, I do a list. So those were way back.
Did a clip show. Gotcha. That was like the good old 80s TV show where they just do like a flashback type of thing. So, okay. So that's what it was. Those lists that you do, how much time do you end up spending on those, and how do you come up with them?
Sometimes I will literally spend the entire week and just accumulate. Sometimes it's literally 10 minutes before. It just depends.
You ever have a situation where you're like, hang on, something just came to me, and you've got to go and write it down or voice memo or something?
Yeah. I just throw it in the notes. There was a time where I didn't actually have a list. I didn't have any notes. This was a time where it was a busy week and I had completely forgot about the podcast. I didn't have any notes. And I remember, like, I made it a thing. I was like, okay, I came on. I'm like, I'm going to do an hour of podcast, no notes, and we're going to get through it. And then the list, I had a deleted folder of scrapped list ideas. And so what I did for the list that week was I went and picked one of those and just off the cuff did it. And it ended up being one of the funnier ones. Some of the ones that I like write, I'm like, as I'm reading them, like into the mic, I'm like, you're fucking disgusting. You're like Kimmel. You fucking sellout. You fucking Colbert bitch. Like, I'm just in my head as I'm reading them, like, this is not fucking funny at all.
Oh no, I found your show very funny. And just like when you talked about the skin of the teachers, it's you know, a lot of people think like forward and backwards, kind of like that's the way the momentum is going, and then you kind of come in from the side. And I think that's the genius part about some of your humor. Do you do any stand up? Have you thought about doing stand up, or is it just this is your medium?
I did stand up for a summer, and believe it or not, that's actually kind of why I wanted to come out to New York City. I wanted to do stand up. And then I don't know why. I think I just was a pussy, to be quite honest. If I'm being 100% honest, I think I was just too much of a pussy to go into the city every night, because I was in keep in mind, it would have been tough. I was working and in college. I can't say I never could have done it. That's not true. I could have. It would have been hard, but I could have done it. And I just didn't have it. You know, I didn't have the motivation to do it. I don't plan on starting it. It's a different thing. Stand-up is a different thing. Being funny on stage in front of people with written jokes is much different than a podcast or just being funny in conversation. It's a completely different skill.
Yeah, I've never done it, and I won't plan on it. I just prefer to, you know, laugh with my friends and everything. But I thought you had a unique sense of humor, which is the start to be able to do something like that. Because some just straight guy, you know, you got to be unique to be able to make people laugh.
There's some straight guy who I look like I led the Charlottesville protests. I mean, I looked like fucking. I look like whatever. Like, I look like what Richard Spencer is trying to be. That's what I look like.
Right. What's your girlfriend think of your podcast?
She is supportive, but she has no interest in listening to anything that I have to say. She, you know what's crazy? We started dating maybe a month before I did my first episode. And if anybody who is listening to this, who listens to my podcast, that intro where there's like sort of like a semi-robotic woman's voice, welcome to Unfit, that's her. I made her. This was like, we were like a week into dating, and I was like, talk into this and just say this. And she was like, okay.
Yeah, you're further along. My wife wouldn't join in. So, matter of fact, anytime I put a mic in front of her, she turns into some like hello. You know, it's like no, just talk normal, people.
No,
so,
I can't. You know, she'll put a fight. She'll start running her mouth about God knows what. I mean, she's like, hey, and you're like, why are you fucking talking like a black woman on Snapchat celebrating her birthday? Enough. Have some pride, woman.
So what do you got coming up for your podcast? What's the any changes? Because you've only got one episode on YouTube that I noticed, and it was the Flat Earth guy.
Watch that one, because by the way, some people watch that, and I kind of acted like I knew what I was talking about when I debated him. I had no fucking idea what I was talking about. And all of the viewers were his fans, and they just, if you go down to the comments, they're fucking hilarious, dude. They fucking hated me. It's hilarious.
So did you push back on him? Because I know one of those guys was on Tower Power Hour, and they brought their people in the chat, and they are just rabid, big simps for the Flat Earth.
No, I literally everything he said was. And there was a point, like I was 10 minutes in, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, well, I'm in this, and now everything he said is going to be wrong. And that was I just dug in. I put the stake in the ground, and I was like, we're doing this. And it was an entertaining episode. That was the only one I kept on YouTube. I'm not going to be able to do YouTube. I'm not going to be able to make money, and I'm not going to grow there. YouTube is a hard place to grow. YouTube is a good place to monetize once you have a following, but it's a hard place to grow. And I'm not going to be able to monetize, and I'm not going to be able to grow there. So I just pulled everything that I had, left that one up there because I couldn't find a way to get that back on. I'm working on it though. I think I have found a way to actually take that off of YouTube and put it onto. It's going to go on my Patreon, but yeah.
I can help you. There's some websites that help you download those things.
Yeah, you were the one, by the way. Thank you for Handbrake. You were the one that commented. I put out a tweet that said I need help fucking shrinking these video files so I can put them on Patreon. And you said Handbrake. I have Handbrake on my fucking on my toolbar now. Works like a fucking
it's great.
alarm.
It minimizes those out really well. I wanted to ask, and I'll hang out here. We'll finish this off, but I wanted to ask the flat Earth guys, because he's like, prove to me that it's a round world, and it seems like to me, if it really is round, you should be able to just go in around the equator and make it all the way around. Doesn't that seem like a way to prove him wrong?
No, because the flat earthers think that Antarctica circles the entire border of the circle. The line drawn through the middle is the equator. And again, obviously there's things, I went back and listened to that, and I never even I never even thought to ask, like, why is there such different climates then? Because that would obviously make the climate so much more similar. In fact, maybe based on how far the sun is away from the earth, the exact fucking same. But I didn't. But it's like, I don't know. They think that that Antarctica is not a lump landmass. It is a circular border, sort of blockading everybody from going off the end of the earth. And a lot of people, they subscribe to the dome theory, which is like, it's flat with but it's flat. It's like flat and then a dome, right? There's the atmosphere, and then it's how they reconcile atmospheric science with their theory on the shape of the earth. I don't know. They're an interesting bunch. I love them. I really do. Let me tell you something. There's nobody I love more than someone who goes on my YouTube channel and says that I am naive and not humble. I love that. I love that.
No, perfect. Well, I'll check it out, and I implore everybody else to do that as well. Zach, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, and if you got any special guests coming up, and the best way to your Patreon, I believe, as well, to subscribe to him.
Yeah, so all of the, Unfit Statesman on Twitter, on Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the shit, the regular shit. Oh, Odyssey, just got on Odyssey, Rockfin. And I think all of this might have been moot, because I think I made the Flat Earth episode private, because I think I was planning on putting it on Patreon. But if you want to see it, subscribe to my Patreon, patreon.com/Unfit Statesman. Great content. I do a show on my Patreon called "Are You Out of Your Fucking Skull," which is I actually have a producer there to control the video content. We play some pretty ridiculous shit from the internet, and then we talk about it, and just, we deem whether or not that person is out of their fucking skull. You should come on, by the way. I'm going to have you on. And
be glad to.
And yeah, we just put the 4th episode out, and it was fucking hilarious. There was an episode of Jerry Springer where he had only children on, and they were his first episode, or his first line in this clip was, "Why do you hate blacks?" And there's just these kids on this panel. And
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking hilarious, dude. And then there was like a 1950s Looney Tunes cartoon where they were fucking. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna spare you the issue. They were saying Native American slurs pretty openly, so much so that they were using it in song. And so we go. It's a little bit more that type of. It's not really political. I mean, some sometimes politicians say crazy shit and we just go throw it up. You got to do it.
Right.
But it's not exactly like my podcast where I talk about, political things. It's more just, we're just going to talk some shit.
Well, one, I appreciate you coming on here. Two, I've really enjoyed getting to know your show, and I'm going to subscribe to your Patreon. I try to spread those things out. What's your lowest tier?
5. That's
okay.
a 5. Yeah,
I think I could do that.
Yeah, 5 Well, you're a fucking attorney. You're
I have 2 kids in college. What am I going to raise you to?
Yeah, listen. Do they need to fucking go to college? Is a joke at this point. Is it not? I'm not using. Don't let them fucking major in journalism. I'll tell you that. It's an oversaturated job market, Tyler. Don't let them. Here's the thing. If you don't have to tell me, but if you have a child majoring in journalism right now, you tell them you better get a master's and you better intern at NBC, ABC. That's it.
My son wants to do nursing, and I'm like, do you have to go to college? And I'm like, well.
You actually to be a nurse you have to transition.
Right.
Transition into my mother. She's a nurse.
Oh, you can't just go and give catheters at the truck stop as your practice and get licensed.
You probably could. I've met some truckers through Liberty Twitter, and you probably could go give a catheter. Honestly.
Yeah. Last question, and then we'll leave here. Who would you rather give a catheter to as a trucker? Okay, Reed Coverdale or Top Lobster? Zach Brown, go.
I would probably here's a look into my mind. I'd rather do because Top Lobster seems like he's like kind of like a tan, tall, thinner guy. Like I would be so insecure giving him a catheter. I'd be holding his dick and I'd be like, is this okay? With Reed, I'd be like, shut up, shut your mouth. It hurts. It's gonna hurt a little bit more because we got to go deeper. That's what I'd probably pick Reed.
All right. There we go, people.
By the way, again, I'm going to give him because he's helped me so much.
Same here. Reed's been great. Once again, on my 2 episodes ago, I had him on the show. We had a good time. We talked about Toad's shit problems. So everybody go check that out. Check out Zach. We'll be back next week, everybody. Thank you. See ya.
Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye, guys.
But she's back.
Chick-fil-A is completely overrated. It's not that good. I prefer Zaxby's. I prefer Popeyes.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. And I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
Should I vote for Dick Cheney on the Libertarian Party? Do I have an obligation to vote for Dick Cheney?
I would say so.
Yes.
Did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
That one dude was like, not a podcast. I can't find it anywhere. They don't have video.
Oh, yeah, Peter Janke. Yeah.
Yeah, I blocked him.
I'll do it. If he unblocks me, I'll...
He'll buy your shirt if you unblock him, Bert.
He's a wigger.
Yeah, nothing cooler than a 49-year-old wigger.
I
just started live streaming. Cut me some slack. I'm pretty high tech for a boomer. But anyways,
boomer.